Hello, my name is Rusty Coones, and I have with me Allan Lane of Hard Knocks Moto. How you doing, Allan?
I'm doing great, Rusty. It's great to be with you, man.
Thank you very much for being here, man. I really appreciate it, man. You've got such a positive image in the industry, and you've done so much for the good, man. It's like I really wanted to get you on here and share what you've done with everybody else out there. You know what I mean?
I appreciate the opportunity, man. Thank you.
So before we get into the main things that you're doing now in your companies and all the stuff there, let's go back to the beginning when you were a youngster. When did you get on two wheels originally?
Tell you the truth, man, like I'm what one could consider a late bloomer. I started riding in my late teens, early 20s. I was influenced by I'm the youngest of six kids, and there's three boys and three girls. It's my middle brother Gregory, who inspired me to get on a motorcycle. As a kid, I rode BMX. I think everybody did from my age, from my era. I'm 48, so Gregory, what he was doing with motorcycles, just really it got my blood pumping. I said, I got to do that. I got to figure it out. And so I asked him one day, and but wait, let me explain my brother Gregory just to paint the picture. So the movie Bad Boys, and I'm sure that many of your viewers will be familiar with Will Smith and Martin Lawrence. I think it was Mike Lowry and Marcus Burnett were the two super cops down in Miami. If you take both of those guys together, you'd have my brother. That's Gregory. So yeah, he's just a character, just a really solid adrenaline rush kind of guy. He got me into the bike scene. My first bike was a Honda Nighthawk 750, and he taught me how to ride it. And that's where it started. That's where the passion started.
So that got you into the motorcycles. And then after that, how many years after that did you turn it into a profession?
So this is how I did the math. This is how this happened. Once I realized that motorcycles were life, okay, motorcycles are life. That's everything exists because of motorcycles, and I exist for motorcycles. The reality set in that it's expensive. And so I have to figure out, how do I get discounts? Well, maybe if you get a job at a dealership or a shop, the things that you need to spend money on for your bike, maybe you can just get a little bit off the top, a little discount. What happens is, once you get a little discount, you start buying more things, and so it keeps adding up. Fast forward 3 to 5 years, I'm working at Fast by Ferracci, which is, and your viewers may be familiar with Araldo Ferracci. Araldo, and I went to high school with these kids. I grew up just outside. I grew up in Philadelphia, PA, and then my parents moved to the suburbs, Abington Township, and so I went to Abington Junior High and Senior High. Mr. Ferracci had Fast by Ferracci, which was in Willow Grove, which was the next township over from Abington. Went to high school with his kids. I knew of him. I knew what he did. He made Ducati the household name in America with what he was doing with professional road racing at the time. We're talking about early 90s. So I said, okay, I know a guy who owns a shop. I need a discount. This is where my life is going. I walked in, Mr. Ferracci, can I get a job? You go through it wasn't as simple as that, but in a way it was. He took a chance on me. He took a chance and invited me into the industry as just a parts guy. I worked behind the parts counter for him, which my addiction at the time, that wasn't good for me, because now I'm working behind the parts counter. So I'm all right, I'm getting discounts. ordering more parts for my bike, and then he changed everything because he told me that I needed to ride an Italian bike if I was working for him. So away went the Honda, and then Ducati came. And my first Ducati was a 2005 Ducati Monster Dark. And that was that bike changed everything for me. Not the size of it, but it was the style and
Let me
the
ask
lifestyle.
you, what
Yep.
CC was that, and what horsepower was that bike?
Okay, so coming off of the Nighthawk 750, which was a middleweight standard bike,
Yeah.
the Ducati Monster was a 620. So it was a, roughly just a little bit more than 600 cc's in a twin engine. So that bike it was more me. It was more me. And again, it wasn't the size, but it was the style of the bike.
Yeah.
And it just I felt more one with it. And I had more fun with that bike than I had with the 750. And that's what that bike I fell in love. That's what made me fall in love with the life, that bike, that Monster 620. The funny thing is, I had it for about a year. So I'm working for Araldo. I have the Monster. I have it for about a year. And again, Araldo being the master tuner that he is, he asked for the bike back because he wanted to develop some engine parts for it. Of course, Mr. Ferracci needs my bike. He wants to make some parts for it. He developed a big bore piston kit for the bike, turning it from a 620 to a 750 cc. But while he had it, I bought another bike. I bought a Ducati 749, which is a super bike. And that was my first super bike, race style, what they would call, a crotch rocket. That was my first, super bike. And that's when I fell in lust. I went from love to lust. And that's how it happened.
Right on. So you stayed with that company for a while. Now, keep in mind, everybody,
Yeah.
he owns some really cool companies. He's self-employed now. But tell me what happened to make you leave that company and go where you're at now.
Yeah, because it makes sense. If I was so in love, if it was all good, what happened? So Araldo, and it was a family-owned business. He has his sons, but they weren't necessarily into the management of the company. So Mr. Ferracci hired someone from the Midwest, some quote-unquote dealership consultant. This gentleman, I'm using the term gentleman, he came in, and after a few months, not even a few months, he determined that I was of no value to the company. And he let me go. Little did he know, again, I went to high school with Mr. Ferracci's kids. I was fully aware of who I was working for. This wasn't just a job up the block. Like this was my career. I was building a foundation. I was putting down roots. This gentleman didn't understand that. So, and it was a colorful scene that I won't get into on how, I left. But I left with I was asked to leave, and then I left in grand fashion. And from that, I started my own company shortly thereafter. And I want to clarify something. Mr. Ferracci, by the time he found out what happened, because it happened really fast, Mr. Ferracci wanted me to come back. Once he understood, well, I feel like I'm being vague, but I don't want to, implicate or, allege anything. But the gentleman, he just made a bad call. And I've said that he hitched his pony to the wrong, I said it right. He hitched his pony to the wrong wagon and just didn't understand my relationship and my involvement with Mr. Ferracci and his family. He didn't get it. He wasn't from our neighborhood, so to speak. He wasn't from our part of town. He was from the Midwest. So where he's from, people like me are not necessarily of value. And I think that's as in-depth as I want to go, if that makes sense.
I get what you're saying.
If you pick up what I'm laying down.
Yeah.
And so, and like I said, it occurred, it happened. Mr. Ferracci did not understand what occurred because he didn't think like that and I didn't think like that. So by the time the dust settled, I had already, I'm not a quitter. It was like, I pick myself up, dust my shirt up, dust the salt off, and I keep it moving. I had already made my plan, figured out what I was going to do and how I was going to do it. I ended my tenure at Ferracci on a Thursday. 2 weeks later, I was signing the lease for what would be my retail establishment. So I was good to go.
Now tell me what was the name of the new business?
Everything But the Bike. Everything But the Bike. Because it was like, look, I don't have the financial fortitude at that time. I didn't have it to sell motorcycles. Like that's a pretty heavy investment. I'm not a mechanic. So what do I know? I know parts, I know apparel, I know accessories, and I've got the network. And I had made a name for myself at Ferracci's. And I took that network and I transferred the weight, so to speak, over to Everything But the Bike. And it worked out. It worked out. It was funny because Oraldo, we'll laugh about it now, but Oraldo didn't understand what happened. And when I told him what happened, we didn't talk for 2 to 3 years, Oraldo and I. We didn't talk. I thought he was mad at me and he thought I was mad at him. He thought I was mad at him because I didn't come back. I was slightly upset. I thought he was upset with me, which is why he didn't defend me. So it was a miscommunication.
Sure.
If we apologized to each other, it was just one of those things where Sure. And but it like I said, it worked out because that gentleman's misjudgment of a situation. I often say I took lemon. He gave me a bag of lemons, and I said I'll be right back, and I put them in the and then I poured it out and made it delicious lemonade. Right. That's what I did. So,
that's the cool thing about it, man. One door shuts, another one opens. And that's what happened. And you probably would have never left that company had that incident with that person not happened, and you wouldn't be where you're at now. Sure, you'd be successful with that company, but you never would have made the leap that you made. You know what I mean? So sometimes it's necessary,
I loved that job. And I loved Oraldo and I loved the family because I learned so much. I learned so much about something that I was in love with. So going to work wasn't going to work. I rode my bike every day to and from work. I got to ride demo bikes. It was like this, who's going to lead this gig? It was the promise, and I was getting paid for it, and I was getting paid well. It was great. So you're right. Had that not occurred, I would have just wrote it out. I don't know for how long. Eventually, an opportunity may have opened up, but that opportunity, as I choose to call it, that opportunity opened up, and I took the ball and ran with it.
Yeah, it's pretty fast. 2 weeks to open your doors with a new building. That's pretty good.
I was ready. Yeah. No, you know what it was? It was with that gentleman, I kind of saw the writing on the wall. Things like that don't happen overnight. You can sense certain things. I like to stay ready so I don't have to get ready. And so once I got wind of the vibrations, the frequency that person was at, in the back of my mind, I had already started making plans.
Right on. So tell me what happened with the new business.
New business takes off. Boom. Everything But the Bike. I start figuring out that because of my network and my big personality, that I knew a lot of people, and at the time there weren't any motorcycle entertainment events going on in our neck of the woods, in the Philadelphia, Pennsylvania area. So what I did was, when I started Everything But the Bike, I also started a parent company called Knocks Motorcycle Entertainment. Everything But the Bike was doing well, but I started an annual motorcycle event that included music, stunt shows, vendors, food, the whole nine, and I called it Clutch Control. And that annual event took off. That took off. And then Jason asked me to go on the road with him. Jason Britton, who I call him Big Bro, great guy.
Class act. Really a good
And this is how Jason and I met. I started Everything But the Bike. I put together Clutch Control. Jason had a show called SuperBikes at the time.
Remember, yeah.
Remember? So I'm watching it, and that's where I was introduced to Jason on watching him just like everybody else. I went to his website. So there was a phone number. I called. He picked up. Hey, do you want to come to Philly and do wheelies? He said, yeah. That's how our relationship started. It started off business. I hired him and booked a team to come out for the first Clutch Control, which was in 2007. And it was great. Had a great time. And then he came out 2008, 2007, 2008, 2009. I helped him get booked at another venue, and he needed somebody to run, to be the MC. While he was doing tricks, he needed somebody to move the crowd. Me. It turned into a business relationship, into a friendship, into family. He and Kendi, his wife, they just took me under their wing. So Jason asked me to go on the road with him. I'm thinking, okay, I can't be traveling the world from behind the counter, in a parts and apparel store. So I sold that. Now I have Clutch Control and I'm on the road. I focused on the entertainment side of the company, the Hard Knocks Motorcycle Entertainment. I let that grow, I let it breathe, and that really blew up. Blew up in a good way. It was ridiculous. Jason and Kendi took me on the road. They took me to Canada for the first time. The first time I saw the Pacific Ocean, I was with them. And I'm a kid from Philly. Jason used to call me Stunt Mouth. Okay. And that nickname came because, he and the team were doing everything, wheelies and, stoppies and everything and wowing the crowd. And what I realized was a lot of MCs at the time, what they were doing is they were breaking down every nook and cranny and detail of the trick. By the time they finished explaining one maneuver, 4 or 5 other things had already happened, and you would lose the crowd. My idea was, no, I'm a fan, just like everybody else is. I just have a microphone in my hand. And if I'm excited, the crowd's excited, the energy level would just be bananas. So I threw out the whole idea of trying to explain things, just be in the moment, be there. And then I started interacting with the crowd and bringing kids out and talking to people and interviewing people. So we became a really tight team. And then Kendi, Jason's wife, I tell people I went to the Kendi Britton School of Business because she helped me understand the value of what I was doing. She helped me to understand, that not everybody can do it. Take that back. Everybody can do it, but not everybody does it well. So to make a business out of it, to be compensated fairly for your talent, being Jason is a stunt man, I'm a stunt mouth. Okay, that's a talent. She paid accordingly for it. So she helped me understand.
Jason used to have a shop next door to me in Westminster. I think you stopped by there, right? And
the first time, the first time I met him, and I remember looking at you because you are a big dude, man, and I'm a big dude. But you, I was like, yo, it's like, I remember and saying, wow, that's a big dude. And Jason even said, that's a big dude. He's a nice guy, big dude. And I said, okay, all right. Yeah, so we met, you and I met briefly, but you left an impression on me because of how big you are, but your energy, your energy, talk about positivity, you had such a great vibration. You gave off a great frequency, man. So it's cool to reconnect with you like this.
Oh, yeah. When he moved in next door, I mean, everything he does, whether it's personal or business, it's all top notch. Everything. And my shop, I try to be top notch on everything, right? So I'm looking how he sets up his showroom and all his stuff. And he's like, damn, man, you know, so I'm like doing shit like he's doing it. You know what I mean? And I would put on events, you know, at my place every couple months probably. And he'd put on events there sometimes. And he did an event there. Thousands of people came, man. It was like the fair, man. It was insane. You know what I mean? I mean,
Absolutely.
he really had a big following, you know?
Yeah.
But one of the things I want to mention about his stunt work is when he loaded bikes, he would load bikes behind the shop and I'd be out there working with my stuff and I could see everything. He'd see what I'm doing. I'd see what he's doing. And he would actually like stand on the rear seat and do circle wheelies and stuff and ride up the ramp to load his bike sometimes. Crazy shit, man. It's like unreal talent on that. I mean, just unreal.
What was great about working with Jason, and it's funny, every once in a while, he and I will reconnect. Like we'll call it the band's getting back together. He'll call me up and say, hey, we're doing this event. Do you mind coming out? And it's cool when we get to live those glory days again, you know, because it's over. Like I said, that was 07 through 2011, maybe 2012 that I toured with Jason and the team. So with Kendi teaching me how to handle the business and also watching Jason, how Jason monetized his talent. Okay, this is the business, talent, the fun, the business. We get a call that Kawasaki is hosting a Times Square takeover in New York. They were dropping the 636. They call me. They say, Allan, we need stunt mouth. Of course, go up to New York, get treated like gold. The green carpet they rolled out, everything, it was fantastic. We do the job. And that day certified that I was moving in the right direction. The check that was the compensation for that one day of work, and it was work, but that compensation certified that, okay, I'm doing something that people value and acknowledge. How do I do this again? And that's just, it just kept rolling from that. So honestly, to say that where I'm at now, Jason and Kendi are a very large part of my foundation. Very large part. And when you mention Jason's what I call the perfectionism.
Yeah.
That man has.
Yes, yeah.
And I can say this because our relationship is very much like he's big brother, I'm little brother. I call him big bro, calls me little bro. Call Kendi big sis, she calls me little bro. Jason is so on point. Nobody's perfect, but he's pretty damn near close. It's annoying. It's annoying because I was like, he's so good. It's like, and you can try, but Jason is he's tough on himself, and he was tough, and still is tough on me. But that's part of the family. That's the friendship. That's the love we have for one another. If he sees me slacking, it's his job. Little bro, tighten up. That can be better. That's family right there. And that's why I've got so much love and respect for he and Kendi.
Yeah. I'm telling you, man, the time I've known him, I've never seen him stoop low at any level. He's always been completely positive about everything and just top notch in performance and the way he does anything he does. You know what I mean? Just a great guy, a good example for people. And people, if they don't know him, they need to look him up. And when he had that show going on, he had some pretty funny, cool stuff going on that thing too, you know?
Yeah. I was on a couple episodes too, man. If you go back, and I don't know where you can view them at now, but the Clutch Control was actually featured on 2 episodes. And then there was an episode where we were somewhere, and I was doing stupid human tricks before stupid human tricks were a thing, like jumping off of, let's just say I was much younger, more limber, I weighed less, and probably had less brain cells than I do now as a mature business person, but it made for great TV. It made for great TV.
Right on. All right, so check it out. So we've covered that pretty good. Let's get into your sport magazines. You've got 2 motorcycle magazines. Let's start out with the first one.
I have one. Sure. I have one motorcycle magazine, and that's called SportBikes Inc. SportBikes Inc Magazine. And so what occurred was after, and this kind of goes back to the Hard Knocks, the entertainment side of things. One of the things that I learned from Araldo Ferracci is that your opinion, you have to have conviction. You have to have conviction. If you have an opinion and you can back it up, okay, it's not a hard sell. You're not selling anything. You're just talking about what you know and what you believe, and you can back it up. As a journalist, being able to give not just your opinion, because anybody can say anything about anything, but when you have an opinion and you can back it up with why you feel or why you say what you say, that creates, there's value in that. So as a journalist, I used to write for a magazine called Two Wheel Tuner magazine. And they were originally based out of Georgia, and then they were bought by another company that moved them out to California. I wrote for that magazine and learned a lot about the business of journalism and writing and testing product and doing motorcycle reviews. When that magazine went defunct, and I remember it was 2010. And believe it or not, I was actually with Jason when this happened. The magazine, the last issue of Two Wheel Tuner came out in May or June of 2010. I looked at Jason, we were actually on the road, and I said, I'm going to start my own magazine. He said, what are you going to call it? And we had this conversation of whether it was going to be SportBikes Inc. with INK, as in ink in a pen, or INC for Incorporated. I went with INC, but that happened in May or June. The first issue of SportBikes Inc., what we call SBI, came out. A digital magazine came out in October of 2010. So from 2010 to present, SBI has grown and continued to flourish. We were always digital, always been digital. And that really worked for where journalism and information, how information was being distributed to the masses. It really worked coming out of the gate being digital. And that's work. And that's that formula right there.
Right on, man. So what was the dosage?
So
Dosage magazine?
My Dosage magazine, and that's a passion project for me. I've always been into art, music, lifestyle, tech, and things like that. So Dosage, I started about 4 years ago. Right before the pandemic, I started it. And that is a lifestyle focused, it's kind of, I'm trying to think, if I had to compare it to something, it would be like Maxim magazine without the skin, so to speak. Not that there's skin in Maxim, but you know what I mean? That heavy. It's a men's interest publication that dips into the artsy side of things. you know, just it's a lifestyle magazine, and that's doing very well too. That's something that I just said, you know what, I like talking about the things that I like to talk about, so I started that magazine.
Right on, man. So with all this energy you're expending and all these hours you're up, it looks like this other company was something you needed to stay awake because you got Hard Knocks Moto Coffee here.
Nice segue. Well done, Rusty. That was good, man. That's great. Yeah. Well done. That was good. So
It's
Hard
probably
Knocks
true.
Moto Coffee. It is. It is. So right before the pandemic, I told my wife, I said, babe, I'm going to start a coffee company. Moto inspired flavors and just, you know, motorcycles and coffee go hand in hand. My wife knows if I say it once, I've already formulated how I'm going to do it. If I say it twice, it's pretty much done. I believe I said it to her once, and the next time I mentioned it to her, the website was already up. And then a month after I launched the company, and this is how, talk about network and knowing people and just being able to have good relationships with people. Once the website was up, I went on my social accounts, and I just said, hey, if you drink coffee, give my coffee a try. Within the next month, I sold a considerable amount of coffee. People were buying it to support me. And then they realized, oh, this is good coffee. So the sales kept growing. And now it's become a thing. It's another part in the Hard Knocks portfolio. So it's good coffee. I'm gonna send you some.
Well, you know, one of the things I've noticed about you is you manifest positive things from your positive energy, and you're always, it's like The Secret, you know what I mean? You're always thinking your goals. And when you think about those goals in a positive way and you're not into the negative, you become what you think and you get what you go after. And this is something for people that need to learn about inspiration, you know what I mean, that haven't got it. Don't think about the negative things because that will manifest. Go with the positive.
Focus on
You took that job situation and you turned it into a great thing. You know what I mean? Lemons and lemonade, you know?
It was a great pivot. I could have turned another way and really let that. And granted, I was upset at the time. I was upset. Sure. I was in my feelings because I'm a human being. But you have to make the pivot and say, what now? I have opportunity. I have air in my lungs. I'm young. I know things. I know people. What's positive? The positive was I have time to make something happen for myself. And that's what happened. So you're absolutely right. Focusing on negative, it doesn't do anything for anybody. No. When you say things out loud to yourself, or you just project, hey, this positive thing is happening. I'm going to be involved with this positive. This is my goal. I'm accomplishing this. When you say these things,
yep.
I talked about frequency and vibrations and not getting into that whole conversation, but that's a large part of moving from one point to the next. Absolutely. Progression.
Yeah.
You know, and a lot of people don't understand how much you listen to yourself. You know what I mean? Like if you
the energy of the universe listens to you,
brother. And that's what I mean. Yourself, because in my opinion, you're the universe. We're all part of it. So we're listening to. If the universe is listening to ourselves, we're listening to ourselves. So if you put it out there, you're your number one cheerleader. You should be your number one fan. You should be promoting yourself.
You will attract what you're thinking about.
Exactly. Talk about it. Talk about it, Rusty. Talk about it.
Hey, man, you're living it, man. I mean, you know what I mean? I'm speaking to the choir, man, and I love it because we need more people on this planet to think like that. You know what I mean? There's a lot of people that they're in negative situations, and it's all a combination of spirituality and all of that, and they're drawing in negative things. They don't even realize it, and they're victimized by it, but they become the victim. You know what I mean? You don't have to be there. You can go into the worst place. You know, I had to go do time before, and I had the boot on my neck from the government and all that because of some negative stuff I was into or whatever. But I turned that around while I was inside. I studied, I wrote 30 plus songs. I developed everything I could out of that. When I got out, I made a deal with myself that I'm going to build a band with the best musicians I can get. Eventually, we had a 45-foot tour bus. We were touring the nation and everything. I mean, it all comes from positive energy and thinking and planning and not letting the negative pull you down. Just separate yourself from anybody and everything that's negative, you know?
Yep.
Keep going forward. And sometimes, like with you, you can naturally feel your way through all that stuff without even studying it. You've got the gift. You know what I mean?
Oh, thanks, man.
Yeah, it's a great thing. You know what I mean?
It's cool when like-minded individuals understand how things work. You know, I'll tell anybody, there's no textbook per se about how to do what I did and what I'm doing. There's no textbook. You learn as you go. You're positive. You put positive energy out there. You do your best. And honestly, and this is what I tell my sons, just try to be a good citizen of the universe. That's all you need to do. Just try to be a good citizen. And if you can try to be a good citizen, good things will happen to you.
Yeah. And other people feel it, like you're talking about, the vibration, the aura, if you want to call it that.
Yeah.
You feel it. I feel it. I can talk to you or somebody else for 10 seconds. And in the first sentence or two, I know what they are, what they're about. And I'm either getting a negative thing or I'm getting a positive thing. You know what I mean? And I love being
brother. Look, there are times I've walked into a place and turned around and walked right out and said, "This is not for me. This spot is not for me." And you know, it's a whether it turned out to be a good or bad experience. At that moment, I listened to my gut and what I was feeling, and I said, "You know what? Maybe I just don't need the headache today." So I pivot. But that again, that comes with maturity. That comes with learning how things work. And you know, it's been a fun life, man. It's still, look, like I said, I'm 48.
You got a long way.
I feel like I'm just getting trapped. Yeah, man, I'm excited.
Well, look, let me have you put out your website information for people to contact you. Give some of that coffee or whatever else, you know.
Tell you what, everybody, they can go to hardknocksmoto.com, HARDKNOCKS moto.com. That's the coffee. They can follow me on Instagram at Mr. Allan Lane Official. The magazine, SportBikes Inc Mag, that's INCMAG, mag.com. And Dosage Magazine is DOSAGE magazine.com. So,
like a dosage of medication. Just remember.
Yeah, dosage magazine. That's it. You know.
All right, man. You know what? Been a great interview, man. I'm so glad I got to talk with you. Just tell me one thing before you get off. Who inspired you in your life to become what you are?
That's a great question. And there's no one person. I have to give up to the collective. I have to start off with my wife. My wife and my two sons, they're the reason. They're the reason. I'm the reason too, but they're part of the reason. So they really inspire me to just keep being and doing better. Araldo Ferracci. That man is still, I've never really had a mentor per se, but Araldo is kind of like that Italian uncle who kicks you in your ass when you do wrong and gives you a high five when you do right. And that, that really, having that type of person in my life has really inspired me to just go above and beyond. Jason and Kendi Britton, the Brittons, those guys, man, they just really helped me figure out not just the business side of the industry, but the human side of the motorcycle industry, and how important relationships are, how important it is to do what you say and mean what you say, and all those things, like to deliver. So those guys are the people that I just mentioned. They're part of my foundation, the foundation of Allan. Without them, I still probably would be doing things, but I don't think I would be doing things the way that I'm doing them. Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you what. Yeah, no matter
and
what.
Mom and dad. Wait, and my mom and dad. Love my mom and dad. Love them.
Yeah, there you go. You don't want to be locked out on Thanksgiving, man. You got to get that one in there, But man, you're an inspiration to all of us, and really appreciate you being here, man. So,
brother, look, man,
sign off unless you got anything else, but I think you pretty much covered it.
I just want to say thank you to you, because I think it's awesome having these types of conversation. They're important not just for everybody, but particularly in our motorcycle industry and in the world today, where there's so much negative crap going on. To have a positive conversation, and you're spotlighting and talking to people that are doing great things or trying to be better human beings.
Yes,
I appreciate the opportunity.
Absolutely, man. That's what I'm trying to do. People that are relevant and positive, putting out a good message to people and trying to turn some things around. Hopefully, if just by people seeing it, you know what I mean? Not saying, but showing. You know what I mean? Like,
sure,
what you do emanates. You know what I mean? It's not like a lot of people do lip service, and lip service is lip service. Who cares? But you're living it, you're doing it, and I love that.
Appreciate
all right, bro.
it,
I'm out of here, man. Thank you very much.
Appreciate you, man.
See you later.
Thanks.